My brain is so empty, so it will be interesting to see what the I say. We have gathered here today because I love women and hopefully you do too, and we love seeing women in film. So I have compiled a list of 10 movies that were directed by and starred women in the year of 2024. May she rest in peace. Let's keep going. After making this list, I did realize most of these are very American-centric, so I'm gonna pull up a few other films from other places because I think it's important to expand your horizons outside of Hollywood. Ooh, spooky. What's on the other side? Is it people with people problems? Oh no. Watch these. We can watch movies in languages that are not English, and you can read subtitles. It's good for your brain. Give it a little workout. You can do it. The subtitles, they won't hurt you. You will be fine. You will be okay. But without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
You gotta be careful around here, I'm telling you.
We start our list off with Love Lies Bleeding, a romantic thriller by English director Rose Glass that follows the relationship between a reclusive gym manager, Lou, played by Kristen Stewart, and Jackie, a bodybuilder, played by Katie O'Brien. Jackie meets Lou while training at her gym, and upon hearing that Jackie is preparing to compete in a bodybuilding competition in Las Vegas, she offers her steroids to give her a bit of an edge in the competition. As their relationship develops, so does Jackie's steroid use. Things get even trickier as Lou's sister Beth is hospitalized due to her husband's abuse, and Lou's estranged father, who is engaged in criminal activities, gets involved. I really loved Glass's world building in this movie and how the story doesn't shy away from showing the gritty reality that these characters need to inhabit in order to survive. I also really love O'Brien's performance. It's very rare to see characters who display or pursue physical qualities that are traditionally seen as more masculine, and honestly, the scenes where she goes full She-Hulk mode, kind of cathartic to watch. The cinematography in this is wonderful and will give a tactile punch in the brain to anyone suffering from heteronormativity, and the editing creates a tension-building narrative flow that, at least for me, kept me hooked until the very end. Some of you film nerds might also appreciate that this movie made it onto John Waters' list of his favorite movies from 2024, where he wrote, "This hilarious bloody film noir is the best movie of the year, one that Russ Meyer might have made if he had been a lesbian intellectual addicted to steroids. Even the pigmen are cute. Sort of."
I'm not afraid of death anymore.
Lisa Frankenstein follows the coming-of-age story of Lisa, who, after the death of her mother, grapples with fitting into her new school and with falling in love with a reanimated Victorian-era corpse. You know, just regular teenage girl problems. We've all been there. Directed by Zelda Williams and written by Diablo Cody, the romantic comedy horror features strangely light-hearted dark comedy, a charming performance by Kathryn Newton, and campy 80s aesthetics. Cody has such a talent for balancing comedy and horror themes in her scripts, and I remember feeling very excited to see this movie when I first heard about it. Give me a morally questionable female character written by Cody, and I will gobble it up.
No, I can't. I can't do that. Not until we bury the body.
Though I did see some comments online about viewers feeling that the movie did not exceed their expectations, which is always the case when a woman makes a film, I consider this movie a very promising feature film debut from Zelda Williams, and I look forward to seeing her next project. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie was actually the set design and costumes. There's just a lot of small details that give the actor something to play with, and the environment ties together the references to silent black and white movies and 80s comedies. They also did an excellent job with Cole Sprouse's character's makeup. The different stages of decay looked really awesome in my opinion. Overall, I found this to be a fun and light movie regardless of its darker themes, and I recommend it to anyone who enjoys Frankensteinian horror themes, female-focused narratives like Jennifer's Body, and 80s cult classics such as Weird Science by John Hughes.
I mean, I used to get punished a lot.
I really knew I was going on a journey with this movie when the first note I added to my journal was, strong start with a shaped head wound. The First Omen is the 2024 directorial debut of Arkasha Stevenson and stars Nell Tiger-Free as Margaret, a young American nun who travels to work in a Catholic orphanage in Rome, where she discovers a conspiracy to bring about the birth of the Antichrist. This movie is the prequel to the 1976 horror film The Omen, starring Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, and the sixth movie of the franchise. I watched this when it was still light outside and still ended up hiding behind my notebook a number of times. So if you are a horror movie fan, then this film might tickle you in just the right way. Free's performance is excellent and, in my opinion, strongly channels Isabella Adjani's performance in Possession, which I have also covered in this channel before. The movie's cinematography matches the themes brilliantly, and it also features an excellent soundtrack. I saw some classic comments online saying that Margaret brought on what happens to her herself by having too much fun at that disco, but as someone who also goes completely feral on the dance floor the moment I hear Donatella Rettore, I recommend this movie to anyone who wants to ponder themes surrounding women's labor, bodily autonomy, and religious subjugation.
We are so happy you all joined us tonight for a family dinner.
Humane is a 2024 horror thriller that follows the tragic dynamic of a wealthy family during an environmental crisis that forced governments to lower their population by 20% by setting up a euthanasia program. At the start of the movie, Charles York, a successful former news broadcaster, calls his 3 biological and 1 adopted adult children to have dinner with him and his second wife, Dawn, to tell them that they have enlisted in the program. This is a shock to everyone involved, and as they argue, Dawn changes her mind and flees, leaving everyone to deal with the aftermath as Department of Citizen Strategy agents arrive to collect 2 bodies. The siblings are then held hostage in the house and given 2 hours to decide who will take Dawn's place in the program. As the directorial debut of Caitlin Cronenberg, the film does feature quite a bit of violence, but has less body horror than what you'd expect to see when the name Cronenberg pops up. However, I do feel that Caitlin's previous experience in visual arts does lead to a very tactile staging that adds to the story's tension very well. While this movie features more of an ensemble cast, I still decided to add it to this list because it has many interesting female characters, and I'm especially excited to see what other roles Serena Golumgaus will play in the future. Overall, I found the setup of this film very interesting, especially as an only child, but I did see online that this movie has mixed reviews from its viewers. I suspect this is most likely because Cronenberg sets up a microcosm of themes surrounding the climate crisis and governmental involvement, while focusing on a microcosm of this one family. This gives the viewer freedom to make their own moral judgments about the situation, which to me is very on brand with the Cronenberg legacy that the director herself is carrying.
I'm gonna have the baby.
We continue with yet another directorial debut, this time from Pamela Adlon, whom you might know from voicing Bobby Hill on King of the Hill. Babes is a 2024 comedy film starring the insanely hilarious Michelle Buteau and Ilana Glazer. Their characters Eden and Dawn have been lifelong best friends who face friendship challenges as one navigates her marriage and the birth of her second child, and the other gets pregnant after a one-night stand. I really enjoyed how this movie explored the topic of pregnancy from so many angles while still being funny and informative. From gems like Mochi is like a disembodied testicle to the way Michelle is able to make going into labor both stressful and hilarious, Ilana and Michelle's performances had me cracking up so many times because of their amazing chemistry. Also, that shroom scene where Michelle is talking to her tits is hilarious. It's so funny.
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Though this movie might not be up everyone's alley because of the subject matter, it definitely gives an interesting overview of interpersonal relationships during times of change, and has a wholesome conclusion to 2 friends negotiating boundaries and connection that left my heart feeling warm after finishing the movie, and I'm excited to see what Adlan's next project will be like. I feel like... I don't know what I feel like. I literally just space out here, and that's where the random shit comes from.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Blink Twice is an American psychological thriller that is the directorial debut of Zoe Kravitz. It stars Naomi Ackie as Frida, a nail artist and cocktail waitress who is invited to a private island with a group of rich socialites by a publicly disgraced tech mogul Slater King, played by Channing Tatum. Through showing the group's dynamic in a socially isolated and extravagant location, the story examines sexual violence, power dynamics associated with wealth, and the cyclical nature of substance abuse. When checking out the reviews for this movie, there seems to be quite many differing opinions, with the negative ones mainly focusing on there being no story or nothing happening for a majority of the movie. But I find it quite interesting how these types of comments usually show up mainly for films that center women or are directed by women. Falling into a similar vein as Get Out or Ready or Not, I think Kravitz delivered a solid debut with a stellar cast. I especially enjoyed the energy between Aki and Shawkat's characters' friendship, even though their trip unfortunately does not end in the most favorable way. I also would have loved to see more of Gina Davis in this, but her storyline, I'm not mad about how that went. I'd recommend this to anyone who enjoys a bit of mystery delivered by an ensemble cast, especially if you want to examine the unsettling feeling in your gut for at least a few hours after finishing this movie. And if you have seen this already, what did you think about the plot twist at the end? It seems to have come out quite subversive, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Bring up the replay on camera 2. Camera 2?
Next up, the ever so shocking The Substance, a 2024 satirical body horror that stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. In The Substance, Moore plays Elizabeth Sparkle, a Hollywood star who is fired from her long-running aerobics TV series due to her turning 50. After being in a car accident, she comes across a black market drug called The Substance, which allows its user to generate a younger and more perfect version of herself. The new self, played by Qualley, names herself Sue and gets a job as Elizabeth's replacement and, unsurprisingly, becomes an overnight sensation. Due to the way that The Substance works, the two must share their time as one, with 1 week being spent as Elizabeth and the next week as Sue. As this balance is put to the test, Elizabeth faces disastrous consequences. Written and directed by French filmmaker Coralie Farja, The Substance gives the viewer a film that is hard to forget. Driven by her own negative thoughts regarding her appearance and relevance, Farja uses body horror to explore societal expectations that women face when aging. In terms of film form, I find the creative choices that led to the finished piece of work absolutely fascinating, and I recommend anyone who is interested in the practice of filmmaking to even just read the Wikipedia page for this movie. The physicality of the actors' performances, the hyper-realistic visuals, narrative flow and editing, and sound design give so much insight into the possibilities of creative choices in the medium that I could probably lock into a 3-hour rant towards anyone who mentions this film to me. It's gonna happen one day, and I apologize in advance. Also, as someone who is usually partial to a body horror due to living with chronic pain and having experiences as a woman navigating the world in the body that I do, this movie definitely scratched an itch in my brain while still making me feel pretty nauseous. So if you are someone who doesn't enjoy body horror, then this probably is not for you. However, if you like to walk on the wild side, then I recommend you follow the wise words of John Waters and get more out of life. See a fucked up movie. John Waters seems to come up quite a few times in this video. In Waters we trust. Also, I'll be watching this film a week after this video comes out, right here on my channel. So if you are interested in seeing my first reactions to this movie, then hit the subscribe button. You know you wanna.
because when I leave, I'm saying goodbye forever.
My Old Ass is a 2024 comedy drama that was written and directed by Megan Park and stars Maisie Stella and Aubrey Plaza as Elliot, an 18-year-old girl who goes on a mushroom trip and meets her 39-year-old self. The experience leads Elliot to rethink how she approaches her identity, family, and love, as the only thing that her older self does tell her regarding the future is to stay away from someone called Chad. Though I did initially watch this because I enjoy Aubrey Plaza's work, I was really taken by Maisie Stella's performance, especially considering that this is her first feature to star in, and I think she's definitely someone to look out for in the future. Stella breathes so much life into Elliot, which makes her character development such a joy to watch, even in moments that are vulnerably gut-wrenching or a little silly. I also found the Justin Bieber scene particularly funny, and I still think about it to this day. It was like the first thing I told my best friend about after watching this movie. Park did an excellent job directing the actors, who all make the characters feel very human, and their performances make the storyline very fun to follow.
Oh my god, are you tripping? Are you guys tripping? I don't know. What the fuck? Ruthie.
Do I relate to all three of them? No, because that would be illegal. This movie also does an excellent job of incorporating Canadian nature into the storyline, and the setting truly feels like a character itself. While it can, and definitely will be argued, that Elliot having feelings for a guy named Chad is a bit on the nose, this movie is still a great watch for anyone yearning to see a funny and heartbreaking bisexual coming-of-age movie with a hallucinogenic twist.
They really don't make movies like this anymore.
Your Monster is a 2024 romantic comedy horror about Laura Franco, who is a young actress that gets dumped by her boyfriend as she is fighting a cancer diagnosis, which is a very real thing that happens a lot. Men, you have got to get your shit together. While having a very understandable mental breakdown during her recovery, she hears noises in her closet and finds a monster living in her house. I'd actually not heard a single thing about this movie and only came across it because the very simple poster design caught my eye while I was scrolling through a bunch of different movies. The bloody and hairy hands making a heart with the very classical red title does an excellent job in communicating the essence of this movie, so whoever did that, awesome job. 10 out of 10. The narrative kept me hooked, the performances were entertaining, and I definitely didn't expect the conclusion to be what it was. Written and directed by Caroline Lindy, the movie is an impressive directorial debut, especially considering the dark subject matter of cancer, trauma, and neglect. I also really enjoyed Melissa Barrera's performance. She's such a versatile actor, and she was really able to make me laugh so many times while watching this movie, even when it happened to be a very tough moment for the character. The last thing I want to give a quick shout out to when it comes to this movie is the editing that has excellent comedic timing. If you are looking for a fun double feature viewing combo, then I recommend pairing this movie with Lisa Frankenstein, which I talked about earlier in this video. That is, if you're into the whole women with monsters in their closet narrative.
You win tomorrow, you going to the Olympic trials.
Following the biographical story of professional boxer Clarissa T-Rex Shields and her early boxing career, Fire Inside reveals the difficult reality of what it is to be a black female athlete. Originally from Flint, Michigan, we see Clarissa's journey from starting her boxing training and struggling to find stability in her home life to becoming the first American woman to win a gold in boxing during the 2012 London Olympics, as well as in 2016 during the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. Directed by Rachel Morrison and starring Ryan Destiny, the movie features great performances that allow the viewer to go on this emotional journey into the boxing world. At least as someone who is not really engaged in the sports world, I found the storytelling very intriguing. I also thought the cinematography by Rina Yang was excellent, though I'm not surprised that Morrison was able to direct the actors in a visually engaging manner in this very active setting, considering her extensive career as a cinematographer. When it comes to the storytelling, I like that they didn't stop with the big win as a climax, but also examined the inequality of pay and opportunity for Black women in boxing. And it was cool to see how important community support is in fields that could just be perceived as fueled by the pure focus of the individual. It was sad to read that, similarly to the subject matter, the development and production of this movie also faced many hurdles, from changes in crew, cast, and even studios, as well as a low box office turnout, regardless of its favorable reviews. So I really do recommend that you check it out. Maybe even recommend it to a sports-loving friend or two. That's today's 10 movies. Have you seen any of these? Which is your favorite? Did I miss any? I definitely missed some. I have really been wanting to see The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson, but I just haven't had a chance to yet. I will watch it though, because I have been getting through my Baywatch box set for probably over a year now or something. It's been a long time. There's a lot of Baywatch to watch, okay? Oh, and after I wrote this list, I did see Grafted by Sasha Rainbow as well, which was very cool. I think it was her directorial debut as well. If you like body horror, check it out. But yeah, in conclusion, I hope you have fun watching these movies, and I'll see you later.